Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be talking to you about my Alocasia Jacklyn. This is a very beautiful plant, very beautiful. Captures attention and the leaves are amazing. You can see the leaves have a structure of the very rough velvet. It's very pretty. It has the stems are purple, somewhat like zebrina's stems. This plant is very challenging to grow. It requires a lot of attention and a lot of love and a lot of care from people who actually want to have this plant. Today in this video, I'm going to talk to you about how to care about Alocasia Jacklyn. I'll talk to you how to propagate it, what's the soil requirement, lights, water, and so on. So first, I'll start with the history. This is a very has a very interesting history. This plant, so it comes from South Asia, and because people got so interested in everyone is trying to sell it and not necessarily propagated, but harvested from the wild, and that it's a cause of problems back in Asia. And there's lots of videos on YouTube if you want to watch about the what is the um, controversy behind it. It's a very beautiful plant. Original name, it's another name. It's not Jacklyn. It was named after a girl who first started to sell it to USA. And it's really interesting to read. They're saying that this is not a real name for the plant. They say, and it's not a true plant, like it's not a true species. It's actually a combination of two plants. It's like a hybrid. How to care for alocasia? For this alocasia specifically, you have to invest a lot of time and love and be very patient. It grows very slowly. And I found from my own experience that if you really want to grow it, you better buy a larger specimen instead of a baby. With the baby alocasia, I had lots of problems. And when I went on vacation with my family this year, I wasn't home for 10 days, 9 days. And when I came back, he died because he didn't get the attention that it required from me. You need to really care about the humidity, what is the soil, and all of that I'm going to explain to you next. So caring tips, as I said, you need to be very attentive to detail. It likes bright indirect lights and it likes a high humidity level. So I've never tried this with my alocasia, but what I suggested is to actually mist the leaves or choose a humidifier. It's very sensitive to temperature, so it's better to keep it 60 to 80, but you have to keep it constant. So for example, if you keep one day 60, or for a week you keep it 60 and then you move it to 80, it's going to be sensitive. The plant is going to show signs of distress. So it needs to be like, it needs to have like a constant temperature. And yes, use a humidifier for the plant. Many people like to grow it in leca. I personally don't like leca. I used it and I had success, but it was, for me in my case, it was more like say trouble than the reward. Like it's more investing for me. I don't do lecas, but if you like to do it, you just need to wash the pebbles and then you just need to put them to soak overnight. And after that, you take the plant and the roots and you put it with leca, and then you just add water just below the roots. I wasn't successful with this, so I'm not going to recommend or not going to say how to exactly. I'm pretty sure there's lots of videos on how to do that. It just doesn't work for me. Um, if your Alocasia Jacklyn develops yellow leaves, that can mean it's either it's an old leaf that just has to go, or it can be that it doesn't have enough nutrients. In that case, you would have to fertilize. And these plants like to be fertilized in the season of growing when they start to grow. It also can mean that it doesn't have enough lights, or it's in direct sun, or the soil, the watering system is not working. It's either not watered enough or it's too soggy. These plants like the soil to be moist and humid, but it doesn't like to be soggy and too wet. And this is what another thing that you have to remember, that this plant likes to have a schedule. So you need to see how your plant is working, what it likes, and how it thrives, and then just follow those steps every time. And so if, for example, your plant likes to be watered every, let's say, 3 days, and you start to water it every day or maybe once in 7 days, it's going to show distress until it actually acclimatizes to that, or it might not like it at all. I'll go back to the time I was on vacation. I have plants that really didn't enjoy the schedule that they were on when someone would come to my house and water them. They I have plants that I know exactly how much water I need to give and what's the interval. And once it's changed, you can see that the plant, for example, wasn't watered enough because it has crisps on the side, and then that it was watered too much because it was already dried, because it makes signs, makes like these circles looking like it's rotten. I'm not going to say rotten, but it looks like soggy in comparison to the very dry part. So that's how I can tell which plants were not watered on the right time and then over watered because they were too dry. So how do you propagate this plant? So when you want to propagate this plant, you actually have to expose the roots and check if them is separate, they will separate, and you need to make sure that they have enough um, root roots to thrive and maybe a couple of leaves. It also has corms. It comes from little corms that are storages. These plants make those corms in order to store nutrients and to grow new plants from it. When you choose corms, it's better to choose the ones that already show signs that is going to shoot. I've tried this before, and I noticed that the corms that were showing signs of growing actually thrived and made new leaves and everything. But the corns that were looking not so good, they actually, no matter how much I tried, they either rotten or they just didn't do anything. So that's a good point to remember, is that you need to make sure that it has a good root system and it also looks healthy to you. Uh, Soil requirements. This plant doesn't like anything that's too tight and too suffocating. So you want to use something like that has bark in it, and so it gives some aeration to it. It likes to have air. Otherwise, it's gonna root rot. And my plant is very new to me, and I'm still waiting for it to acclimatize. But after it does that, I will have to change the soil because I believe it's in sphagnum moss maybe or something, but I don't like how tight it stays, and I generally don't like sphagnum moss. So I'll be changing it to another type of soil, and I do have some videos that talk about the soil I use. So if you want, you can check it out. Growth potential. So these plants can grow up to the 3 feet tall, and leaves can get up to 18 inches if they have the right environment. I'm not sure if you no. Well, yeah, I saw some shores that show these plants in a house environment that they are so large. I'm not sure how long it takes because these plants grow very slowly and they are very um, hard to grow. They're very like moody, and when I see these plants going kind of blah, I actually get very worried because that's a sign that it's gonna die. I have other alocasias that they died several times. They completely died, and then when spring came, they just came back to life or something else. But this alocasia, particularly, how many times I tried it so many times and it didn't come back. So you want to make sure that you have the right soil and you're very patient with its growing. Alocasia, it's considered to be very hard to grow, and that's because she's very sensitive. It's a sensitive plant. It has to have the light it likes, and it has to have the soil she wants, to be watered at the time she wants, and it likes the humidity. So I will suggest for you to either no, I'm not going to suggest you mist. I had bad experiencing with misting plants, so I would suggest a humidifier. If you're a beginner and you want to try this, you really need to be patient, and you really need to make sure that you have a schedule. Maybe put some reminders on your phone on when to water, and get a humidifier. Make sure that you don't change the soil right away when you bought it. I noticed that with the plants of Alocasias Jacklyn that I did before, when I changed the soil right away, the plant was very stressed. And apparently because when the plant grows in another environment and before you bring it home, it has another schedule, and then you bring it to your house and everything is changed. The climate, the other plants are on, the light, the humidity, the watering, and then you change the soil, so the plant gets very stressed and it has hard time to bounce back. So this is the reason why I'm waiting for it to stay a little bit more, and then I'll try my best to fix it. Another note is that it's really prone to spider mites, and all my alocasias, I have a good size of in my alocasia collection, and chopping their leaves because they have spider mites is like one of my games. You really cannot. I tried, to separate them, and I tried to use different type of uh, pesticides on them. And I noticed that if I don't actually cut the leaves that are infested the most, they come back. No matter how much I can pour a whole bottle on it, it's still gonna come. Even I spray the soil, I spray everything, and I wash it, and I spray again, and it's still not gonna work. It's not working for me, at least. I have a huge alocasia that has like probably 2 feet long leaves, and I had to cut it out because it was the worst case scenario of spider mites infestation. And I'll tell you that one of the plants, the alocasias, that it's prone the most to spider mites, it's Yucatan princess. My Yucatan princess, I probably wash it and wash it and wash it, and it's not like it's all the time. It has a period. I noticed that it has a specific period when it gets the spider mites, and then I have to care for it. I have to care, and then I cut the leaves. I just cut it down, everything. And when the new leaves are growing, it takes a long while before they actually get spider mites. And I would say when my with my Alocasia Yucatan, I had these huge leaves, and it was such a pain to cut it down. I'll tell you that for a fact, because the leaves are so pretty and they tend to stay for so long without yellowing or anything. And one day I was fighting the spider mites for a long time, showering it, spraying it, changing the soil, and all that, and still didn't work. So I cut all the leaves down, so it was like nothing there. And I noticed that when it just starts to grow, it actually doesn't make the spider mites. But at the time when the leaf gets to its maturity, like the size, like my leaves are like this big. So until they get to this size, they don't get spider mites. And when they got to this size, they get the spider mites and then infest the other ones. So for me, with my Yucatan princess, I'm actually doing it the pesticide part every week. I actually clean my leaves every single week. I wash it, and then I clean it because my Yucatan princess was huge, and now I just have like several leaves. Well, this was all for today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and be patient. Happy growing. Alocasia Jacklyn.